Hi, I'm Jessica Beck from the podcast IELTS Energy and author of many of the resources on IELTS.allearsenglish.com. Today, I want to talk about something very specific, very focused. In the last video lesson, I talked about the writing process and how this very simple strategy will help increase all of your scores for writing task 1 and task 2. So if you haven't watched that video lesson, go back and watch that first. Today, I'm going to talk about the very specific part of that process, the checking. Now, when you are checking your work, when you are proofreading your own writing, you have to go about it in another 3-step way, okay? By the way, our course is called 3 Keys IELTS because every strategy to help you on the test is boiled down to 3 simple steps, just like what we're talking about today. And they're all focused on getting you the highest scores possible. So when you are checking your work, you need to check for 3 things. What you cannot do is read your essay without a goal. All right? You can't just say, okay, I'm going to proofread my essay now and just catch everything at once. No, that's impossible. It's a waste of time. You're not focused and you're not going to catch as much. So you need to actually look at your essay 3 times. Now, this doesn't mean reading it all word for word 3 times. No, there's no time for that, of course. But you do need to look for 3 different things. So when it's time to check, remember, you must save 3 or 4 minutes to check your work in order to get the highest scores. Okay, so when you're checking your work, the first thing you need to look for is overall structure. What this means in task 1, make sure that you have that overall trend in the first paragraph. Then make sure that you have 2 paragraphs that are clearly different and you don't repeat any information. All right, and that's a quick thing to check for in task 1. In task 2, what that means is check your work, make sure that you mention the topic right away in the first sentence of the introduction. Make sure you have a thesis statement at the end of your introduction. For example, in this essay, I will explore both sides of the topic as well as give my own opinion. I think that's a perfect thesis statement. So make sure you have that. And then in paragraph 2 and 3, make sure that the topic sentences are clearly different. For example, advantages and disadvantages. Also, look at your conclusion. You must finish your essay in an organized, logical way. I tell my students to give their opinion about the future of the topic. That's a nice way to conclude the essay. So make sure you have all of those things, those structural things in your essay. Now, I really hope that you're writing this down. If not, go back to the beginning of the video and start taking notes because this is gold, you guys. This advice is gold. This simple 3-step strategy for how to proofread your work. You must write it down and practice. So the first thing you check for is overall structure. Do you have these key pieces of information that the examiner is looking for? That's step 1. Step 2, this is when you read more carefully. This is when you're going to check for vocabulary. So what this means is checking for spelling mistakes because when you're writing quickly, you're worried about the ideas and getting out the information. You're not thinking about how to spell every word correctly all the time. So make sure you check spelling. Also, this is the most important thing here. You need to look for repeated words. If you are repeating a word too many times, your score will go down. You must show the examiner your ability to paraphrase, to say the same thing in a different way. This doesn't mean you have to use all high-level synonyms. No, using a different simple phrase is better than repeating yourself. Okay, the examiner looks for your ability to paraphrase. So make sure that you are not repeating a word too many times. For example, in task 1, don't just say increase, 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 increase. You can say increase, climb, jump, go up, skyrocket. There are so many vocabulary words that you can use. In our course, we give you lists of these very interesting phrases and words to get you a 7 or higher. So you need that vocab knowledge before going into the exam. Step 3, grammar. Okay, so it is difficult to catch your own grammar mistakes. It is. For some people, it's impossible because you made the mistake. Maybe you don't know that it's a mistake, right? So instead, focus on the things that you can check. For example, I always tell my students to check for verb tense, present, past, future. When are you talking about? In task 1, for example, it's almost always going to be past simple. Like, that's easy. It's about a time in the past, so make sure all your verbs are in past simple. That's an easy thing to check for, or at least I hope it is. If not, it's something you have to practice. In task 2, when you're looking at verb tense, think about, when is this information taking place? Am I describing something that happens all the time? Then it has to be present simple. Am I describing something that's finished in the past? Past simple. So this is something to think about. Also, besides checking for verb tense, I want you to look at your nouns, singular or plural. This is a mistake that you can catch yourself, and it's something that is very common, and I see students make mistakes with plural and singular nouns all the time. So these 2 very simple things to look for. If you catch enough of these mistakes, you could raise your grammar score. All right, because it's these simple mistakes. That's what the examiner notices more than the difficult, complicated sentences. That's okay to make mistakes on. That's difficult and complicated. But these simple mistakes like verb tense, these are mistakes that you should be able to catch. So please watch this video a couple times. Take notes on this process and practice, practice, practice. The more you practice proofreading your work, the more you're going to catch, the better you will be. Practice makes perfect, right? The better you will be at catching your mistakes. And then on test day, when it comes down to that last 3 or 4 minutes, you are going to be able to check your work, and you're going to be able to raise your scores in real ways. All right, so I really hope that this information helped you. I'm sure it will if you take notes and practice. And I know you will because you're a good student because you're watching this video. For more resources, check out our other videos on this YouTube channel. Take notes on those. Also, check out our IELTS course. The motto is simplify, practice, succeed. It's the only course that gives you a guaranteed score increase. Check it out at IELTS.allearsenglish.com. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.